Hey, what's up everybody? It's the last day of Men's Mental Health Awareness, so I felt like I needed to share a video with you guys because I myself have struggled deeply, especially in 2020 when I was stationed in the UK. So I wanted to share with you guys my 3 things that I think affect mental health and how we can kind of combat that and counter it as people today, not just men. But I actually have some notes I'm gonna go through with you guys, and then I'm also gonna share some experiences I've had with my own mental health experiences and struggles. So first and foremost, we'll get into the nitty-gritty details of the 3 aspects. Hold up, I just had these. Alrighty, here we go. So the first thing I have that can ultimately destroy your thoughts and your happiness is negative thinking. Obviously, you're going to be unhappy if you're dwelling on the downside aspects of a situation, whatever situation you're currently in. If you're just thinking about all the bad and not the possibilities, you're not going to give yourself the potential to overcome that, you know? So you can't just dwell on hopelessness. You got to actually think positively to get out of that negative hole you're in. Second thing I have is fear, which is linked to anxiety. This one is the one I struggle with the most because I used to fear a lot in my life, especially when I was 20, and I was fearful that I wasn't gonna get out of the situation I was in that was stressing me out so much. So whatever you guys are going through, whether you're worried about the future or you feel like the everyday demands of your life today are challenging, you gotta feel that. You gotta feel that deeply in order to overcome that. So it sucks to feel fear and anxiety, but it's a part of the process to becoming happy. You have to feel those things and be able to overcome them and find yourself in that pain. It's painful, but you have to embrace it and you have to go through it. You can't run from it like I used to do. I used to try to run from that. You cannot do that though. That'll just delay the inevitable. You have to go through it, face it head on, and be strong. And the last thing I have is lack of meaning or purpose. This is a big one because everybody, whoever you are as an individual, you need a clear sense of direction. And you want to feel, I hope you want to feel that you have a significant impact on the world, because it's challenging to find happiness and fulfillment. But if you're chasing something, you get to experience that, you know what I mean? Like if you're going for a college degree right now, currently I am, so I'm using myself as an example. If you are chasing that and you're doing everything you can in your power to get there, you got nothing to regret. Like you're totally doing what your purpose is at that moment, you know what I mean? And I know it's a worldly view of things, but it's to help not only like myself but others to think about that, because you don't have to chase all these things at once. You can chase the one thing, then get after the next thing. You don't have to just feel overwhelmed by all these situations and all these goals you have. You can chase one at a time. For me, I finally am starting to put God at the top of my priorities, and He's given me clarity on how to view situations such as this, and He's given me peace of mind to be patient with my goals, despite how many goals I have. And for you guys, you find your purpose in everyday life, whatever you're doing. Are you doing actions that attract the life you want to live? If you're doing things that are part of your lifestyle that are taken away from that are setbacks, then you can't really feel upset about your circumstances. You have to put in the work. You get in what you put out, as Jocko says. And a lot of people complain because they don't have what they want, but they haven't tried to get there, you know what I mean? They haven't acted on their purpose. And that alone can just be a never-ending cycle of regret and loss. And I know this for me because I know I'm not perfect. I'm not trying to act like I'm perfect, giving you guys advice or whatever, but I drink a ton. I used to be a huge alcoholic. I still, to this day, I still have a beer or two on fight nights and stuff, you know what I mean? And I've never been able to break my streak of sobriety. The only time I did is when I was on antidepressants for 3 months in 2020, and that was the only time I stayed sober for more than a certain amount of months. And I've been through this streak as well. I went through a streak last year when I was working at the school. I actually stayed sober longer than 3 months. Never mind, take back what I said. But the point is, when I was drinking, it takes away from my purpose. I cannot feel bad about me not achieving a goal if I am drinking and living a lifestyle that is just dishonorable to God and my beliefs, and dishonorable to my purpose, my humanly purpose, whatever it is on earth, whether it's my career, my degree, or my family, whatever it is. So you guys got to put it in perspective. Am I doing things that attract the lifestyle I want? Am I doing things that give me purpose? And I ask myself that a lot because I felt like, or I felt in the past that, oh yeah, I'll get this eventually. I don't have to work for it now. But then I regret not doing it now, you know what I mean? So now I'm trying to do it now for my degree and for my overall physical health. I've been trying to get after it, and it's hard to work on multiple things, but it's possible. And I make this message because I'm actually going to go through another hiatus of taking a break from social media, but I wanted to send a good message to not only men out there that are struggling with mental health, but women as well. And for me, I struggled the worst when I was 20 years old. I was stationed overseas in the UK. I had circumstances that had me out of work for 3 months. I was DNA, which means do not arm. I could not work with my squadron because I was an MP basically. And it sucked, dude. I was totally alone. I was doing supply work and I was working with just people in the squadron, and I didn't get to be with my actual community of airmen that were out there doing base security and actually working the gates. I was stuck in freaking supply issuing out gear and stuff. You know, it sucked. I hated it. And I was very shy at the time too, and I didn't really stand up for myself, and I just took it as it is. I was like, this is a sucky situation, but it is what it is, and I'm gonna get through it. That was my mindset at the time, and I didn't really talk to anyone about it. I didn't really have a lot of friends at the time. But I was put on antidepressants during my time when I was off a flight, and dude, that like just shifted the whole situation for me. It created this void in my heart, and it wasn't filled like it should have been. I needed a community. That was my purpose, was working for the Air Force and having the community of airmen to work with. That was what I was there for. I was there to serve. I was not there to work supply and have that ultimately just taken away from me by working supply. Just that purpose just stripped from me. But it was, and deservedly so. There was some stuff that I got myself into that deemed me unable to arm, and I was mentally not ready to arm, so it was kind of my own fault. But I look back on it now and embrace it, because even though it wasn't a pretty part of my life, I wouldn't be who I am today without the pain that I went through in 2020. And about the antidepressants, I was on 75 milligrams and it was up to 100. I think it was Zoloft. It was some type of medication, I don't remember. But I took that for 3 whole months, and the only good thing about it was I was sober. That was literally the only good thing about it. And I remember blaming God for a lot of my problems. I remember blaming Him for things that I couldn't control. And I didn't pray to Him. I just asked Him why. And there came a point in that uncertainty that I just gave up on my faith. And it did not end pretty well. At that time, it did not play out very well for me. But there was one point in that 3 months, I think it was 3 weeks into me taking antidepressants. There was one night. So during that time, I was also getting panic attacks. The mental health struggles I actually struggled with, before I talk about that, I had separation anxiety, and I had just homesickness. That's not really mental illness, but it was mainly separation anxiety. I was separated from my friends that were close to me in Turkey, and I missed a lot of them. And I dwelled on the past a lot. I was separated from that. So I disassociate my present self because of the past and how much I missed it and how much I missed the people that were a part of that. And I missed my family too. That was a big part of it as well. That was what I was mainly struggling with. And what would have helped me at the time is if I would have had a good friend that was like, hey, get in the gym. Let's get after it. Let's go work out. And excuse me, if I also had a decent mental health provider, because at the time I had a BHOP specialist, which is like a behavioral health technician, and he would just give me my antidepressants. We wouldn't really talk. He would just say, how have you been? Rate 0 to 10 your feelings. And this is mental health in the military. Like, this is legit what the DoD gives its service members. So it's sad that service members are overseas and get that kind of care. And that's the care I got. And I needed more. I truly needed more, and I wasn't provided that extra resource, which sucked because I could have definitely avoided a lot of pain if I would have had someone that listened to me. And back to what I was saying. I had one night where I had this intense chest pain. It was just like an overwhelming feeling of emotions, and I started to cry. My body was getting red and tense, and I just was like raging inside, and my chest was feeling so tight that I thought I was gonna have a stroke. I literally was having a hard time breathing. And I remember I called Marco, shout out to Marco, and he came down to my dorm room, and I met him outside the door, and I'm like wincing in pain, and I'm like grabbing my chest, and Marco comes, grabs me, takes me by the arm, and he just starts to walk me to his car, and we're going to the hospital. And he takes me in. Nurses take me in, they check me in, they start doing these scans on me and stuff. They start hooking up all these wires to me and checking my vitals out. And it was literally a panic attack, dude. It was that severe, the stress that I was having, that I got hospitalized for that whole night. And dude, that was like rock bottom. It sucked. But luckily, I called my dad the next day. And he's like, man, I know you're going through a tough time, but God can get you through it. And he quoted Philippians 4:13. And I really started to think about my faith and who I was becoming through this and what I could do to get out of that. And finally, after like 2 more months, I was able to go back to work. I was able to arm up. I went back to work, and I met Vanderwill. Vanderwill was the homie, the main man. Yeah, I had a good friend with me. I had that belonging back. I had that purpose back. And I felt fulfilled because I was doing what I felt I was supposed to be doing. I was back to work. But after going through all that, you can't just ignore that past. And I had a hard time just letting that go. I just would dwell on it, and I was like, why? Why did this happen? The Air Force, why did they let this happen to me? And like, a lot of it was, personally, because I wasn't taking care of myself when I got there, and I was getting quarantined and stuff. And it was a lot of personal choices that impacted that. But I was blaming other people, and I wasn't holding myself accountable for what I could control. And that made it 10 times worse. And finally, I wasn't the best believer at the time. I was a very lukewarm Christian believer. And God, who's a part of my purpose now, I started reading, and I finally got clarity on a lot of situations in my life, and that feeling of lowness. And I remember reading the Bible and just feeling like, man, I've had it all wrong this whole time. Why was I shutting God out? Should have been letting him in. Because God puts us through tough times like that. Those trials and tribulations we're scared to face, he puts us through tough times like that so we can endure them and become better. my battery's running out, but I'm not to charge this, then we'll run it back. As I was saying, man, God's good. God truly is good, and I just hope everybody knows that if you seek Him and actively try to find that sort of purpose in your life, you'll find it. And God reassures us of His plan in Jeremiah 29:11. I remember this verse because it's a verse that has really held significant meaning for my mental health journey and how far I've come. And it states, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." And I think that just shows God's faithfulness and commitment to us as long as we commit to Him. And the plans that He has for us are greater than the plans we have for ourselves. And I forget that a lot. There's certain things that I wish they would work out this way, but then God has it work out this way. And it teaches me a lesson in the process, but I don't know the lesson until it usually is in the process of happening or it already happened. So I'm trying to become more adaptable and more humble for what God has planned for me. And I know I made a lot of mistakes when I was younger, and I'm trying to be better from that. The whole point of existing and living is to become better, whether it's through our depression or our pain from the past or who we are trying to be now. There's always aspects of our life we can all do better at. Nobody's perfect, and nobody ever will be, besides Jesus, of course. And I just want you guys to know that, like, that's how I've dealt with a lot of my mental health struggles and withdrawals. I still, to this day, I still go through down times. I try to be thankful for what I do have and feel the blessings that God gives me every day just by living. And I still get down a lot, but it's good because I know how far I can be pushed. I know my limits. I know that I'm capable of so much now, and I won't be pushed around by things that are minor and just small setbacks that come in my way. So I hope this is encouraging for you guys. It's been nice to get this off my chest. I usually don't talk this much, but since I'm in my own little space and I'm comfortable, I can talk all day. So this is 3 years in the making. Really, I've never really tried to sit down and record myself talking about this, and it's cool that we got it done in 2 takes. Very cool, and I feel a lot better. I feel a lot better getting that off my chest, and I hope whatever you're going through that you find some sort of balance and some sort of thing to counter that. Always remember, you need a purpose. You need to not dwell on negative thoughts. And lastly, you need to find a community that supports you. That's a big part of it. So hope that this actually helps you guys out. And I'm thankful that I got to get this off my chest. And I feel a lot better about it. And now people that know me kind of know what I've been through and why I am the way that I am now, I guess. And the continued journey to get closer to God and get closer to my earthly goals. So I pray that you guys actually did get something from this, and I appreciate y'all that did listen. And lastly, the big thing is joy is there. Joy and happiness is it's always there. We just have to find it ourselves. You can find it in something. You just have to test what it is for you, what makes you happy. You have to seek it yourself. You can't just sit down and let it come to you. It has to be something you actively seek, And don't be afraid of the fear that comes to you. That's a normal human reaction because we're all scared to do something that's new to us. But embrace that fear and continue to counter it by interacting with it, Fight it, man. Fight it. And always remember, you need a community. You need someone that has your back, whether it's one friend or many friends. You need something, man. And Don't be afraid to confide in people, but also be careful who you do trust, because some people you cannot trust. And I have a hard time reading some people, but at the end of the day, as long as you have one ride or die that got your back, that's all that matters. You just need one, and you can do whatever. And lastly, I just want to thank you guys for listening, and I do appreciate the empowerment that we all get by venting and coming out about our own personal issues and how we're trying to grow in certain ways. You know, life's a marathon, not a sprint. We all got to get after certain things, and we all got to better ourselves in a lot of ways. And people are different. All people are different, and that's what makes us unique, is that we're all trying to break through something that is holding us back. So hope you continue to break through. I hope you don't dwell on your negative thoughts, and I hope that you find what you're looking for. All right? Y'all take it easy. Thank y'all for listening.